No-fee schools that are meant to serve the poorest learners. Parents now reportedly being pressured to pay voluntary donations of up to 1,500 rand. Despite laws protecting children from being excluded from non-payment, some have been barred from class, denied reports, and even pushed into debt. The issue surfaced after bank statements from Ulwazi High School in Mdantsane were leaked, revealing alleged misuse of funds by Principal Mihlali Maklima, who has since been suspended. For more on this, we're joined by Philasande Mkhuzo from the Equal Education Law Center. Philasande, thank you so much for the time. Appreciate it this morning. What is going on? This is meant to protect some of the poorest of the poor in the country as well, really poor family. But it seems to me that it's just, unfortunately, making things worse. How did we get here?
Good morning, Arabil, and to the viewers at home. I think the starting point is, and this is no excuse on the part of the schools and the behavior that they're doing, but it's important for context, right? And it's the story of let's follow the budget, let's follow the money. In the provinces where this act or these acts are predominant are the provinces where we've seen a lot of budget cuts over the years. Now, what is happening is the schools who are supposed to be funded by the department have seen over the years the budget go down, extreme budget cuts. What then happens, there's a gap there that schools now need to fill. Right? And one of the ways in which they do this is through these voluntary contributions, which, by the way, are legal, right? Because SASSA does say school governing bodies, you have a responsibility on top of the money that you get from the government, you need to fundraise on your own. But we need to then realize and understand what voluntary contributions are. They are by their nature voluntary, meaning if you have it, you can give it. If you're able to, you can give it. But it is not compulsory and should never be used as a weapon against a child or their parent in terms of them accessing their school.
Yeah, so what's the recourse then? Because you made note of both sides here. The schools are allowed to ask for some money, again, voluntary, as we've made note of. If the parents can't afford it, you can't hold back a child's report away from class, etc. So what's the recourse if that is being done?
In terms of the law, one would then report this to the department, right? Because one, it is unlawful. And one of the things that we've seen is that SGBs are actually the ones making this decision. In terms of the law, you can't be, especially if you're a no-fee charging school, you should not be charging any form of fees. Therefore, coming to the conclusion of charging those fees goes against the roles and responsibilities that the school governing bodies have. And one of the recourses that are available, at least available in terms of SASSA, is when the HOD then comes to the school and revokes the roles and responsibilities of the school governing body, because inherently they are failing the children and the parents who they are there to protect. But above and beyond that, it's also reporting to the department that a particular school is acting in this particular way, and where then the district then comes in, or at least the provincial department should come in and intervene in terms of that school and do away with that particular practice.
So how do we figure out who's to, maybe not necessarily just blame, but really to point fingers here at how we can fix this a lot better? Because is it government's inability to properly budget because they've decreased budgets for some of these schools, as you pointed out a little bit earlier? Or is it just the misuse of funds that comes into play, such as the case of Ulwazi High School in Mdantsane in the Eastern Cape?
A bit of both. I think the honest response to that is definitely a bit of both, where our government is at fault and guilty of budget cuts, right? Whenever we talk budgets and money needs to shift from one place to another, we see that education is usually at the bitter end of getting budget cuts. Inherently, the overall planning that the department has, but also the mismanagement and the corruption that we do see at schools. I think it would be amiss of me to say, or need to at least not acknowledge, that there is corruption and mismanagement of funds in school. And Ulwazi is a proof of concept of that, that even when our governing bodies and our principals are given responsibility to take care of the funds, the little bit that they do get from the department, there is misuse and mismanagement and corruption that happens in school. So it's really not who the one over the other. It really is a situation where all the parties need to come to the fore and account.
Yeah. Is the no-fee school model still working?
For the most part, I would want it to work. I do want to say it does work. But we've seen over the years, and I think I'll keep going back to this point around the budget cuts and why we are finding ourselves in these extreme, harsh, and aggressive practices by schools. It's because of the extreme and harsh budget cuts. Overall, it is meant to benefit society, but because of the budget dwindling down year over year, we see that more resources are being pulled away from the schools that need it the most, and thus affecting the overall quality that one particular school is able to provide. So while in a utopian world, it should be benefiting everyone in the highest form possible, it really isn't. But we are making do with what we can. As sad as it is, it shouldn't be like that, though, but
Yeah.
that's where we find ourselves.
I mean, if this trend continues, which it earnestly looks like is on its way to continuing to do, are we at risk of eroding the very idea of basic education free for all in this country?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think in the economic times in which we find ourselves, as little as 100 Rand goes a long way.